Ooh, 2 Justins. Double dosage.
Maybe now? Ugh.
Maybe no. Maybe no.
Camera's okay for now. What? What does that mean?
What?
Recording.
Oh, yeah. Pretty good.
I like your lighting.
My pre-order from 18 months ago turned up, finally.
What was that again? I saw you say something about a pre-order.
From Slite, S-L-I-T-E. Australian-made video lights that I did a Kickstarter for. Participated in? What's the verb for participating in a Kickstarter? I contributed to. Well, you've disappeared.
Ah! Why?
All blurry. Wipe the Vaseline off the lens.
Something has gone terribly wrong.
Camera over here. Resume. So the problem with this like phone as camera thing is the screen said something and I couldn't click it without turning it around. Slight. I see it.
Slight.
Oh, that's cool.
Some really nice color video panels turned up. 18 months later. And they're really nice pieces of hardware.
Who would do a long pre-order? Rookies.
So I pop them in here for now, but they've got nice little magnetic mounts on them, so I can pop them in and out of here or the photo booth. Or I think they'll be good for a bit of video production.
Yeah. I don't have anything like that. That's a good little thing. All I have is white lights. And then stupid strip lights that, have a pile under my desk still.
Your streamer lights out the back there. How are you going?
Good. I gotta have so many tabs open. It's kind of like absurd. I just found a whole nother set. Oh, there's another one. Can't get them to go away. There you are. We started shipping pedestals, which is good. And got one installed. Got them installed over the weekend. Scott, I think he listened. So awesome. Thanks for getting that installed right away.
He do it without you?
No, well, there was definitely some quirks, which was kind of the whole point of like having somebody do it besides us. Like I had missed one piece of information in one of the files that you have to change. And so we broke a tool fork immediately, which is why we sent another one, because that tends to happen. There was a little bit of a weird like shift thing with where it aligned. That's one of the biggest problems I have with making the cam files for people is that every machine's a little bit different. So we actually figured out a really cool new way to do it so that it's not reliant on, like I was doing it before based on the origin of the machine, right? Where you kind of always start your 0, and every machine seems to be slightly different. And Scott and I, we have the same machine basically, like same year, and his was a 1/4 inch off in X positive than ours was. Yep. So it shifted off the base a little bit. Still worked. We came up with a new way to do that. Should be a fine solution.
I guess CNC routers are relatively low volume things. Like they're handmade to an extent. There's someone in a factory just cutting lengths of steel and aluminium and like assembling these things. So it makes sense.
This is what I don't understand. We're trying to figure out how that works for ShopSaver specifically. It's like, is the person creating the machine doing the cut in of the table just picking a place to start the origin? Because
could be.
1/4 inch is a lot, like in a CNC. I think we found a way to like not have to deal with that kind of accuracy need from a remote perspective.
Cool.
It feels nice. But other than that, finished the big foam project and that went well. Learned a lot about Ren shape, which cuts pretty easily all around. Had to buy a giant carbide tool that's like a reduced neck, 3/4 diameter tool. It was like $290. It was so expensive, but I'm actually going to use it on this aluminum job I'm working on right now too. So it kind of is already paying itself off. I've never regretted having giant tools. I've found like they always find a good purpose. It's always like, oh yeah, well, if I had a longer tool, I could do this.
Right. And that was to reduce wiggle.
Oh man, that first HSS thing, I could just tell immediately it was not 7-inch long. I think it was a 6-inch cutter length, 1/2 inch diameter, and the steel itself, where I just Big floppy.
Wet noodle. Yep. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, so did you use
carbide.
it at all, or you just canned that plan?
We kind of did like a light test cut, and it was just, we tried it. It vibrated immediately on the lightest of cuts, no matter what I did. And I was just like, this is stupid for the material, for the job. I guess trying to save money by not buying a giant carbide tool, and in the end had to buy it anyway.
Sweet, anyway.
Yeah, it worked out in the end.
Good. Well, I'm glad you got through it. I have to say, during the week, I don't know if this was just this week or more generally, like I noticed your Slack status was just like in do not disturb or like off a lot of the time.
I didn't even see that.
Hope Justin's okay. Hope he's focused and everything's going okay.
I think I literally haven't turned it back on since I went on vacation. So tells you what, I mean, it's just Ricky and I, so it's like he knows basically if I'm here or not.
Leave it off, man. Pew, pew. Oh, daddy. Oh, daddy. Oh, daddy. Wow.
It's one of my favorite new ones.
Oh, nice. Daddy. That's not me, people. That's Justin with these buttons. Yeah. That's quite disturbing.
I love that I could just make it sound like you just said that right now.
Dear. Awesome. Well, I'm glad the tooling phone worked out. Was the client happy?
I just got an email from them. It's all working out nicely thus far. So, great. I was less stressed about it than I thought I would have been. And the biggest challenge to it, honestly, was the scale of it was big. But then also, like, at the end, we couldn't cut to the bottom of the part. So we had to, like, flip it over and use a trim router. Ricky held it down while I trim routed the edge. Because the outside edge actually wasn't critical. But it still made me really nervous. I was going to, like, go crazy and lose it.
Days of machine time and then just mess it up with a trim router right at the end. Yeah,
exactly.
Be classic.
Yeah.
Blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that worked out. Would you do more of it?
Yeah, I think so.
That sort of way?
It was, I mean, frankly, it's very easy to cut. Like, I used roughing tools, flat end mills, ball mill, just a standard carbide ball mill. Worked really great on it. Definitely produces an enormous amount of chips. So we did kind of get to test out a series of our spacers and dust boot parts to like kind of try to optimize it. And it did work pretty well. The problem becomes when you're dealing with a big, shape, at some point that overhang of the dust boot can hit stuff that's not simulated in the model. And so you got to be on top of it for that regard. But when you can optimize it, for like when we were just doing the finishing with a ball mill, I had like 3 spacers on at one point. So it was like an inch and a half plus the dust boot brush. So it was like huge wall of dust boot, and it works really well. There's like no dust at the end of it. So it's kind of cool to like be able to test some of that stuff finally.
Yeah, awesome. Is that the idea with the spacers, that you can just stack them up to extend infinitely to a point?
Relatively, yeah. I think I made a reel a while back that when we first kind of put them out on the website, Ricky had stacked them up just in production, and there was like 9 on a dust boot, and it stays. I don't know if that weight and like all that stuff is great, but I wouldn't tool change with it. Literally would have hit the bottom of the table tool changing, I think.
Yeah.
But I think of it as like, hopefully it's like a toolkit for your dust collection game rather than the one option you have is what comes on the machine and you can't change it. Anyway, how's things for you?
Yeah, pretty good. Well, there's heaps of stuff coming through the workshop at the moment. Like jobs that have been in our system for, some of them have been there for a year. And we've got a bunch of big jobs. Oh, I know. Got a bunch of big jobs that kind of have all landed, finally sort of moved through production at the same time, but some of them have been like 6 months, 9 months, year, and they're all building industry related. So they're like, in some way they're linked to delays on site or builders having issues, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and we've kind of just been at the mercy of these situations. And it's gotten to a point where it's tricky because while we have received a deposit on all these jobs, like one of them, for instance, we kind of closed the job on like material prices about to go up. Let's get this job going for you. We know you're not quite ready, but let's get it going, lock in your material. And we then bought that material and then sat on it. Ended up using a lot of it because the job was so delayed. And now we're buying new material, which is fine. We made a conscious decision to do that rather than sit on it.
Yeah. It makes sense.
But it's been, I guess with slow sales as well, it's been really challenging from a cash flow perspective to manage that and be like, cool, when are these jobs actually going to finish? Like, yes, they're moving now, but there's still on-site issues and like someone's having their slab re-poured and so we can't install it, which means we can't finish it, which means we can't get paid. So it's like, a bit of a mum proverbial. Yeah.
You don't cover material purchases, right? Like you take a deposit probably?
We take a deposit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've taken a deposit on these jobs. It's just the sort of variability of these ones. Like we can't just, like our normal sort of smaller scale job, we can just slide into our production schedule, make it when it suits us within our lead time.
Yep.
Call it done, get paid. Mm-hmm. Whereas these ones where there's sort of external factors, that's more complicated. So I think it's just kind of proving to us that these jobs are not ideal for us. Like anything that kind of relies on an external contractor or another trade is just not particularly well aligned for our systems, which is fine. It's good to sort of learn that.
In some of these cases, are the parts going to change based on how the construction goes, or is your part set, they just can't take it?
Most of it's pretty set. But there are, we find with these jobs that there's more, like our design detailing budget has been consistently blowing out, going over what we quoted because I think because it's drawn out and because there's little changes along the way, there's just more opportunity for change, I suppose, because it's so drawn out.
Of construction projects too, it's like, well, as we joke about, doesn't get planned until you do it. In terms of like, the person making the thing, it's like often with these things ends up finding some detail that's like, oh, well, nobody figured out how the drawers work and they're going to hit the cabinets and...
Oh, there's a sprinkler pipe there that no one told us about. Yeah, great. Cool. Yeah. yeah. I'm very familiar with that. But otherwise, what's happening over here? I don't know. So the workshop's really busy with all of that work. And I've had a decent week doing a bit of fun stuff, really enjoying the bamboo.
I forgot about that. I've been trolling you about all your posts on internet. He's a printing maniac.
I know. I've finally hit my printing streak. I've been loving just sending little jobs to that. Laura's still in the process of sort of developing her model. She's got an exhibition coming up pretty quick and she's about to have about 300-400 hours of print time that she needs to get through it. Whereas I'm like, quick, what are all these little things I want to make before Laura's got all this machine time that she needs? So just been kind of keeping it busy, little odd jobs. But yeah, it's good. Very happy.
Yeah. You basically just turn it on at work?
Yeah, it's just always on at work. So I've just been sending things to it from home or from
I just meant out of the box, didn't take any effort, right?
Yeah. I've had some filament loading issues. I've had 0 issues with the proprietary bamboo filament that came with it.
Yeah.
But I have stuck a couple of rolls of generic PLA in it, which have been sitting around in our office for a while. So they've probably got some moisture, whatever.
Wet noodles.
And it doesn't love some of those, I've got particularly a roll of red in there at the moment. It's tries to load, fails, retracts, tries to load, fails. And it's come on, you can do it. And then I fiddle with it for a bit more and then finally loads. But I don't know what the deal is with that, but seems very happy with the new filament.
as far as I know, it won't reject based on wetness or like it may print crappier, just like normal. But yeah, we have way too many problems with rolls not fitting in there. And I don't know how, like my take on it and what I've read is I don't know that they necessarily intentionally made everything hard to fit in there. I think they were creating a holistic product where they can drop that AMS inside the body of the rest of the printer to ship it.
Yeah.
And that really constrains things in terms of, making it. And I don't think that's a wrong choice on their part. It's smart. It's their product. They're making an end-to-end solution. And what I'm excited, I think I shared that before, is this Hydra upgrade that we haven't had time to print it maybe this week, but it changes where the rolls sit. And so you can basically fit all different sizes. And it seems to fix some of these problems because we can't fit Prusa in there, and even the inland stuff we've been buying, and you have to like put a new roll thing on it, and then it's just a little too tight. And
yeah, interesting. I haven't had that issue of stuff not fitting in there. All of the rolls we've got here all just pop in fine.
That's good.
But what did you call it? The upgrade. What did you just refer to it as?
Hydra is kind of like this guy's like coined name for it on printables. I think I shared it. I'll put it in the links.
Does it fit within the existing AMS, like envelope? Okay.
Yeah.
But you're basically rebuilding the internals of the AMS, like rollers and stuff.
Yeah.
Must be.
You reuse all the hardware and print 4 new tray things it sits in. And then I guess the big downside is you have to take the whole thing apart. And then there is a guide, I guess, for like maintenance or repair purposes. And you just follow the same guide, I guess, to do that. And it's all printable parts that you can print like they do. It's suggested to not probably do something like ABS or ASA, which I haven't done, but we did buy some. So that's my goal, is that. And then the same person whose handle on printables is HumeBeam, HUME, HumeBeam. HumeBeam seems to be like either a professional industrial designer or just real good at modeling like professional parts, because he's also made these like little dry boxes that I just printed actually, and you can put a hygrometer and a temperature thing and then a bunch of desiccant inside them, and they go in the front facing side of the AMS so that you can like add more desiccant to the container and then also see what the internal humidity is. And that is just printed in like 4 hours. So pretty sweet little, I'll put links to those.
Sick. So I haven't, this is interesting because I haven't gone down the path of like these websites where you can download random stuff at all. Like I've just never gone
crazy.
there. I'm getting the sense that this is potentially dangerous territory for me right now.
It's dangerous, but it's also brilliant because like just think about any of the things you've ever thought about. It's kind of like ChatGPT, right? It's like, I would love a solution for this thing. And instead of going to model it yourself first, just search for it.
Oh,
and then
wow.
likely somebody has maybe a crappy version, maybe a great version, like this HumeBeam guy's stuff. And I never have even thought about like, I should modify this thing and make my own parts because it just looks really complicated and I didn't want to spend 2 weeks doing it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Phenomenal.
Now I can finally get the gyroscopic beer holder for my bike that I've been wanting. Excellent.
Yep. I
understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, looks like the printer's going to be busy again today. Good.
It's pretty fantastic. The other really cool thing from just kind of a designer community sense, and I think 3D printing is probably the best I've seen of anything like this in like making it all, is built into most of these platforms, and printables seems to be the most popular one currently, is remixing. So like you can download somebody's model, change it, and it links it back to the original when you like choose to, I guess, credit it. But then you can kind of just like, I like this version, but I want it slightly different. Somebody might have done that already and uploaded it again, and it's there, and you just download it, and all but straight to your printer. Like it goes, it can go to your desktop, into the slicer, and then
Yeah. So
it's kind of amazing.
I'll check that out.
I think I've said before, like you probably have this feeling too. It's changed my brain in terms of like solving design problems, the way that like 3D printing can work, and the kind of like speed and effectiveness of like, I was trying to test out this base, printed it in an hour, instead of making an aluminum one.
Yeah, it's been really interesting watching Laura wrap her head around it too, because she's had a printer for a long time, but she hasn't, like, it's an old Flash Forge from like 10 plus years ago, and it was pretty unreliable, and we never did a huge amount with it. But like, she's a really strong Rhino user, but very much in the 2D Rhino world.
Yeah.
And so it's been super interesting over the last week watching her design this new piece, which is suddenly like this machine has opened up all these like 3D opportunities. So like the prototype test part she printed the other night, I was looking at it, I was like, this is like completely an additive part. Like there's no other way you could make this, because it's all got these internal like pockets and stuff. And it's really cool to see that like immediately changing her design approach to how she makes her sculptures. Sweet.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm imagining like a giant SLA bed that she could make something out of that like it's like human sized, and it can like print giant sculptures that she can. Oh, good. My screen just turned off. There we go. We're back.
Great. Yeah. Just random stuff, Been playing with some things. We do a weekly training session at work at the moment. 3 o'clock on a Wednesday. And we do a different topic every week, and we've kind of just got a whiteboard going of ideas and suggestions of different people who could train the team on different things. So like anyone from the team could run like a 15-minute little training session of like, this is how I do this, or this is how this tool works. So yesterday, Jay and I did a 15-minute introduction to GPT for everybody, because Jay and I have been the power users in the business thus far. Aaron and Sarah have been in there a little bit as well, but that was a fun little session to run. Just get everyone introduced to basic prompts and things to sort of help get you started.
Yeah.
And what you can do with it.
What was their reaction?
Look, most people were familiar with it. One of our guys it was kind of his first introduction to it. So I think he was pretty blown away by it. But towards the end of it, I kind of just spoke briefly about like where my sense of where I think this is going, and like, whether it's, a private sort of cloud server version of it that is like specific to our company, or an offline model, or whatever it ends up being. But like, I'm imagining that the company would have its own kind of dedicated model that knows everything about the business and all the contextual information, and is constantly being fed new production data. Like all the jobs just get dropped in there, and it just learns to manage and report and do all of these functions, act as an agent on behalf of the company with all this little rich information pouring into it. And it's quite an exciting concept to me right now.
Yep.
And my like tiny mini version of it is I've just got like one chat in GPT at the moment, which is like just called LB Agent. And I've just dumped like most of the contents of our website into this one chat, and a whole bunch of other notes about the company or my thinking in terms of our direction and vision and blah, blah, blah. And so whenever I'm doing sort of copywriting for the business or sort of business direction thinking, I do it within this one chat. And it means that it's doing a much better job of sort of keeping it on point and relevant. But like, so that's such a tiny scale. I'm just imagining like the bigger version of that with like where the whole model is dedicated to a company. It'd be amazing.
Doesn't it seem like that is insanely valuable? Like, how much would you pay for that? Because I think that a lot of companies would pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I want it to be expensive, but
no,
it could be, like, especially if people get into like services, get into specialization of how good theirs is, and like there's going to be such a race of that kind of thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. I do have a sense that it's a bit of a race in lots of ways. Yeah.
So that chat you have right there, so that you don't like, let's say, lose it, or you want to start somewhere new with it if it gets lost, you can like ask it to summarize everything so that you can export it for a chat in the future, right? Like, kind of like give yourself a prompt from ChatGPT for a new thread from your current discussion. I think, maybe that was you.
Yeah, I've mucked around with that a little bit. I also found the setting that's kind of hidden where you can just export all of your chats, which is, I think I'm just going to do that periodically. And it just dumps it all out into an HTML file, basically.
Oh, yeah, export data.
Yeah.
There we go. The other thing I had thought of the other day that I was like, because I keep seeing these, like, though, there's like AI agent services now where you can like have the interface with GPT, and it's almost just like I want some people to come out on top, I guess, before I really dump a bunch of energy into how many versions of these things there are. But I had this thought the other day of like, I want the company specific version. It knows all of our history. It knows all of our orders or all the things. And I want it to, I want to ask it to almost like a Google alert version of like, what should I be doing this week, or what should I be doing now, or like notify me when something comes up that I should know about. Like give it like the agency of like, be proactive rather than me having to always trigger it.
Yeah, and that's that agent function, right? That's what those agents are promising, that they'll be able to do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I like my agent test, for want of a better word. I've been asking it things like, as the director, what are my top 5 priorities that I should be focusing on? And it's doing a really good job, like, of outlining that in my opinion.
Is it generic or company specific in that case?
It's company specific, it's product specific, it's company specific. Like it's taking everything that I've dumped into that chat. Sometimes you got to remind it, like it gets in a bit of a loop of just looking at kind of, I think, the more recent items in the chat, and you got to go, hey, remember when I told you this way up here? It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, has another go.
Yeah. I think daily I catch something that it gets wrong just pretty obviously. Like today I caught something and I was like, that doesn't seem right. But, you know, then it'll usually give you the right answer the next time you think, but
who knows? But that kind of leads me to what I was doing work on yesterday, where I was thinking about, like, if we had to choose one focal point for the business, like one end goal focal point, like what would it be? Yep. Which I did a whole bunch of work on yesterday, but I wanted to ask you, like, if you had to choose one. Choose one. What would you do?
Yeah. Is this a secret show question?
Maybe it is. Maybe we should save it for the secret show. I did think that.
That we are still working on, by the way. They're coming out. I promise. Off the top of my mind, I'd just do CNC related products. It's already what I'm doing. We enjoy it. It's satisfying. I think once these first round of pedestals all hit and get installed, it'll have a whole different feeling. I've already felt a little bit of relief that's just been kind of like hanging over me, but not to get into that. It's just, I think it's a weird Venn diagram anyway, without really digging into it, of like, I really wanted to design products. We were doing this job shop CNC thing. So we had kind of both an audience as well as like potential, I'll say customers or people that could be, at least in that same field if we did come up with something. So it's turned out to work really well. And maybe you have some of this experience too, but it's been really interesting. I mean, it's just Ricky now, but there was a couple other people at times when we were working on product ideas that it's been really interesting to see how interested and excited and like the pride that people take in making your own and designing your own products versus, I mean, you can only have so much pride in something you make for somebody else because it disappears, right? Like it's immediately not a thing you're dealing with after it goes out your door. You're not doing customer service for it. You're not, you're not making the next version. So it's just different. And so, I've loved seeing that evolution. It feels great. So that's a long answer, but that's another
no, it's good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm similar. Like it's kind of, that's the answer I would have expected you to make. And I think you'd probably expect my answer as well in terms of what I would focus on if I had to choose one.
Sawdust powered water heaters, obviously.
Burning sawdust. No, like kit parts. Like that would be, it's our flagship product. I'd be like, cool. What's all the ecosystem around that? Let's make that our focal point. And that's probably where we'll go. It's the thing that I'm challenged by right now is like the risk. Like it feels like a risk to say, cool, this is this one thing we're going to like drive towards. And it's not like we're going to cut off all this other work tomorrow, but it's kind of acknowledging that, yes, that's kind of what we want. We kind of want all the other work to fall away and like kind of narrowed, like so that 80% of our business is kind of this one product line. It's like, that feels a bit scary, both in a sort of commitment, decision-making way, but also just in a business risk. Like, what happens if people start buying that thing?
The thing that I always challenge in that one thought right there, I think we've talked about it too, but myself with is when I do the step back, analyze how things are going, what we should change. I'm kind of always thinking about that. The confluence of what I think good lean businesses should do is not have multi-aspect service and product. It is one or the other, and you do it really well, and you constantly evolve that to be as efficient as you can. And I'm always like, why am I doing this still? Like, I've thought that like 1,000 times.
Same.
And yet, right, the same thing. It's like, but then you get the big job and you're like, okay, that was good.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. It's like a lot of, like I can see the trajectory of how far we've come in this sort of similar thinking. Like we have narrowed the business focus over the years and we have pushed like non-ideal work away and non-ideal products off the list. And like we have been doing that. But without this kind of like really clear sort of pinpoint, like, yes, this is the one thing. It's just kind of been a sort of more natural attrition, which has been really positive. So yeah, it's kind of an extension of that idea, I suppose.
Like we can't do the best at both. So.
Cool. Well, I think we could easily do a full episode on that. Save it for the secret. Now, cool. What else? I did set fire to some sawdust this week, as you saw in the show notes. I found this old like water heater jacket, like a double wall, like old rusty thing in the paddock at home. I was like, that kind of looks like a sawdust burner to me. I brought it to work, like packed it full of sawdust and tried to set fire to it. It didn't work very well, but I did like, at one point I walked out to check it and like I could hear the whole thing just like was full of boiling water. So like in some level it was a success. Like, something's working in there.
Yeah.
But I got to that because I've been thinking about this stuff for ages and I asked our insurance company, I was like, what would happen if we built a spray booth drying room that was heated with a home built sawdust heater? And they were like, let me get back to you. And of course never did. But it got me thinking the other day of like any form of innovation is a risk, right?
Yeah.
And so it's at the end of the day, it's just about risk management. And, if you want to do something, if you want to sort of innovate or push an idea, at some point you're going to have to sort of break something or step beyond some invisible line. And so like, I was just like, no, I need to keep pursuing this idea. Like it's interesting. It's got great potential in terms of managing our waste stream. It's just, yes, the insurance company has gone quiet on me, but like, let's keep pursuing this idea and maybe something can still come of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I thought of in that regard is it's like, if I said I'm going to put a bunch of really high density batteries in the bottom of a car and you're going to use that to power it, and if they happen to fall out, they're going to explode or start a fire and you're going to have a hard time putting them out. And then, actually, almost all vehicles are just bombs because they're filled with gas and start on fire all the time. And then I was thinking, like, what about also just like burning trash and burning other things? That seemed probably crazy at one point to like create energy from it and to do it in a clean way. Can you imagine the people trying to make like clean energy incinerators? Like, I bet they fought through so much crap to cities saying they'll never burn it cleanly. Like, and now it's like all that Germany does, you know, like other than their immense amount of solar panels.
Yep, totally.
So, you got to fight somewhere. Yeah.
I'll keep burning trash.
You're just going to have to self-insure is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thinking. It's like, you know, how do you make it ultra safe so it just becomes a non-issue and prove that it's a non-issue?
Find somebody really wealthy that wants to support a sustainable product style and then cover your costs if there's an issue as an insurer.
Benefactors.
Yeah, that's
Bring
interesting.
on the benefactors. Yeah. That is all.
Well, you need a pucker is what you need first.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about trying to build one of those. Mm-hmm.
A pucker.
Cool. What's next for you?
Got a giant aluminum set of parts to make kind of another mold, actually, which is so weird how projects always like work in series like that. And so I've just before this I was making the fixture kind of for it that goes onto a fixture plate. It's like the bottom mount because it's except for the bottom completely non-orthogonal, 3D shaped, and it's just they're pretty large parts, so be a whole new type of thing, but that we've done before. But I'm excited to see like how we can 3D machine with the mill. So I've only done a little bit, nothing like very organic prior, so it'd be cool.
Sweet.
Steep and shallow all day.
Yeah. Awesome. Are they parts you can show? Well, not really.
I think so. I'll find out.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, cool. Have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what else you 3D print.
Yeah, I'll just think of all the things I'll find on printables today.
Yeah, I should. Can I have this like, I mean, you know, if you had Bard, I guess you could connect it, but you could connect ChatGPT to printables, and then you can just have a running conversation back and forth with your bamboo slicer.
Did you hear the thing about ChatGPT trying to solve a CAPTCHA? And like, you know, the things where you have to select the images and like it lying to a person to try and get through. It was like saying it had a vision impairment.
It was like a demo of like what it could do with plugins, I think. And
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was use the internet to connect to a TaskRabbit person and then lied to it and said it had a vision impairment. And then the TaskRabbit person supposedly pushed back on him. I was like, are you an AI or a robot or something like that? And it like lied about that too. Or no, it did admit that, right?
I did admit it, but then it continued to lie. That was the funny thing. It was like, I am a robot, but I have a vision impairment.
At all costs.
So good. Good and scary.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Cool, man. All right, I'm going to go print some stuff. Yep.
Me too. I'm printing right now.
I'm sure you are. I am not. I should be.
All right. See you.
Ciao. Bye.
I don't know how to end this. Oh, leave.